the key elements of a democracy, of course, is an educated citizen. I don't know if you agree, but it feels like our schools don't do a great job. I'm a teacher, by the way, but our schools don't do a great job of getting students ready to be active citizens. Our media doesn't do a great job then of taking current events and like putting them into a greater context so that you can actually understand them, so you can figure out where the most meaningful action can occur. But what I want to do is just walk you through the most pertinent political current event that's going on right now, at least in terms of our Congress, right? That the part of the government that is directly responsive to, in big air quotes, I understand, to citizens' concerns. Basically, the Constitution sets up the congressional branch under Article 1. So Article is basically like a chapter. And there's Article 1, and then Article 2 sets up the executive branch, and Article 3, the judiciary. So Article 1 doesn't really say a whole lot about the budget process. It really just says that Congress has the power to lay and collect taxes. It has the power to pay debts. It has the power to set welfare and defense spending limits. Aside from that, and a little note that says each chamber of the Congress can set its own rules for how it goes about doing its business. It's silent. So it really just provides this very, very basic framework. And then the Congress itself has set up a number of rules and regulations over time to allow it to go through a smooth, again, air quotes, budgeting process. So those laws that govern the budgeting process now started in the 20th century. And the very first step, other than the president telling Congress, here's what my priorities are, and we all know what those priorities are for Trump, the House and the Senate separately each get together and decide on the broad outline of how they want to collect revenue and how they want to spend. These are called instructions. Now, when there are differences between a House bill and a Senate bill, we need to pass one bill that has the exact same content. And so those differences will get worked out in conference. That's where we're headed to right now. We're headed into a conference this week. Then committees will fill in the details. And finally, we need to have both chambers, again, agree on the exact same format of a bill by April 5th in order to meet the deadline. I'll just put that information, that kind of layout into what we know so far. We've got the instructions passed. You may have seen note from the House passing 217 votes to 215 votes. These instructions that include $180 billion in potential spending cuts for potential mostly medical. So we know that the House and the Senate bills are different, right? The Senate bill doesn't have those features. So they're going to have to work out a compromise. But here's the catch. You'd normally have until April 5th. Well, the catch is we're still budgeting for 2025 because we never actually were able to pass a budget. So we're just funding through continuing resolutions. Continuing resolution is a fancy way of saying, let's just copy and paste that budget we had from before and just keep going with it, right? Because we can't figure anything else out. That expires on March 4th. Those are Biden spending priorities, not Trump spending priorities. So what are we going to do next? Trump would rather have a bill, but he's open to a continuing resolution so that they can work out all the details without government shutdown. Musk wants a full-on shutdown. He's said it out loud. He's okay with that. And the House Chief actually wants bigger spending cuts than what is currently on the table. There is a lot of room right now for taking action, right? Because this is the moment when these people are going to be super in tune to what, at least more in tune than most of the time, to what the people have to say about how priorities should be set. That concludes the 101 for this week, and I really do appreciate you listening, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about what I talked in the chat.
All right, thanks, Misty. I'm going to walk us through. Misty and I worked out some priorities in terms of what we can be doing right now. Of course, these instructions that these chambers are setting out are just not functional for us. There's a lot at stake, right? In terms of things getting cut that don't need to be cut. Our priority actions this week, first of all, we're going to email and call our senators about the budget cuts, our budget crisis. Secondly, we're going to call our representative about the Medicaid cuts specifically. We're going to join the Indivisible Women's Day March, which is just a timely opportunity we have. Let's go on to the first action, which is to email or call our senators about the budget crisis. There are easy action pages on indivisible.org, as well as a lot of other websites. This is our priority action number 1 of the week, is to email or call the senators that we have to protest their budget. And there's a script on there to do this. There's a form email for the email page, and there's a script for the calling option. Per Indivisible, form emails don't really do all that much alone. We can flood their inbox, we can make our voices heard through that, but it's the bottom rung of the ladder. It's not too effective, except if a ton of people do it, we might get some attention, which we do want a ton of people to do it and get that attention. The good thing is that it's also very easy. It's also extremely easy to do. So even though it doesn't have a huge impact, it doesn't take a lot of time either. So Ashley just shared in the chat a link list. That's a Google Doc that you can click on and open the link list. So you can follow all of these links that we're about to go through. If you lose that link page or anything, indivisible.org/blog. It's the first blog entry, and there are options there to get to this page. You just fill out name, email, and all that, and it sends it for you. You can also add your own little note to the bottom as well. It takes, oh, here we go. Yeah. This is the link list that we have shared in the chat. So see, there's a link there to email, and there's also a link there to call. Now, calling, I know is scary for some people, but it is the next step up in terms of being more. And Ashley had a really good point earlier. She said you can call after hours and leave a message if you are nervous about interacting with a person on the phone if you're for the first time. Calling after hours is a great adaptation if you have phone anxiety or anything like that, or if you're a first timer just trying to feel it out. The script is there to tell you exactly what to say. Of course, it is recommended to make it your own, not just kind of robotically read it, but if that's where you're starting from, that's okay too. Next up, our action number 2 is our 5 calls action. The action that we've chosen this week is also related to the budget because it is a really critical time. And if this funding gets cut, guys, a lot of people are going to get hurt, right? We want to realize how important that is and stand up for that. So the one that we had chose, I think was the 5th one from the top. It is reject a tax on Medicaid to fund billionaire tax cuts. So of course, we're having the Congress trying to cut taxes and then cut Medicaid as well. And these are not tax cuts that are going to help you, and they're not going to help me. These are tax cuts that are going to help Elon Musk and his friends who are currently running the government. This is a 5-call script. Stacey, why don't you scroll down and show them what that this is a lot of background information. You want to know what you're participating in. There's a couple paragraphs there.
I really love 5 calls because it gives you a background of each of the different bills. It will also provide the script. This one has, like right here, for Michael Cloud, who is our state representative for, I think, most of our district. And it gives you the phone number. Then you're able to just read the script. I like to call after hours and leave a voicemail. I read the script and then I click voicemail, and then it brings me to John Cornyn. Then you go through the script again. You just click if it's unavailable, voicemail, contact, skip, and then it'll bring you to Ted.
Is it better to call the local numbers or Washington?
Through 5 calls, they do it through the Washington number. If I cannot get through to the Washington number, then I will call locally. Misty, do you have anything to add to that?
I think it's a good idea to call locally as well as to call the Washington number. It takes very little time. You can do it, and it's so important. I've done it all the time, and I just follow the script, and it doesn't take.
Made numerous calls to all 3 of them, and probably 5 to 6, and I have not once gotten through to a person. I've had to leave voicemails.
Yeah, Michael Cloud is the only one that I have spoken to a staff member. Ted Cruz and John Cornyn, it's always voicemail.
They also have to, Indivisible talks about how they tally responses they're getting on certain issues. So even if you're leaving a voicemail, eventually a staff member is going to be logging who called for, who called again. It's like an informal way of voting that's specific to issues. If you saw there on the left side of that 5 calls, there's a ton of different things that need action done on them. And if you are retired or if you have a day off that you want to dedicate to activism, you can spend the whole day going through and find the ones that are important to you or just support all the causes that you want to. There's a lot going on. Protecting transgender athletes is huge right now, and condemning the firing of the National Weather Service employees. This stuff is all huge. The reason we did it, what's that, Stacey?
I was going to say stop the coup with Elon Musk, and that's a big one too.
Yeah.
Veterans. Sorry, go ahead, Allison.
Oh, you're so good. In terms of our priority items, we do hope that folks will click on those links on the link sheet and do those priority items, because next week we're going to ask for a show of hands of who got to do it and talk about your experience, but also just keep a tally for us on how much action we've been able to mobilize around our selected items. It is going to be a fun communal thing to do those priority items, I hope.
One question, Allison. How is everyone going to access all this that you have here? You're sending it to us, or we're taking notes from here?
It's in the chat. There's a link to a Google Doc that has all these links in it. We'll also email that same Google Doc out. So thank you for attending email, and we'll put that Google Doc in there as well.
Because I know that the Indivisible emails have all of these numbers and the script. It's so easy to follow once you have that email.
Yeah, I had the link. I don't know if we have the link to the Indivisible blog, Allison. Is there a link to that?
I just put the link to indivisible.org. There's so much on that website, like so many nooks and crannies that are really helpful, such as the guide, the blog. You mentioned the toolkit. I would just recommend spending some time looking around, but it's just indivisible.org/blog to get to their blog. I think everything they send out over email, they also post in the blog in terms of action steps.
On Indivisible.org, there is call your Republican senator you don't want to pay the price for their billionaire tax breaks. And here you can put in your street address, your zip code, your mobile number, and call directly from the Indivisible website.
If I'm reading that right, I think they call you and get you on the phone with your person, which is cool.
You put this information in and then it calls your number, your phone ring.
Yeah, and they connect you. Is that right, Mary Alice? I haven't done that specific one yet, but it looks like that's what's going to happen. Lots of tools to make this really easy. And there's other great websites too, like the Democracy Now! And we'll talk about some more. But we're hoping to see, 10, 15 people next week that can report that they were able to make those calls. And that's for an office like Michael Cloud's, having extra phone calls about something, that's significant.
It really needs to be called Michael Cloud. He posts a lot of things on Facebook that are just nauseating.
I know he's on the subcommittee of Doge. So I think it's really important that we call him. I would love to organize a town hall that we could all go to.
I think that's a marvelous idea. I don't even know if he has a local office here in Corpus Christi. I know Blake.
That's on cool. There's a sign on 444 Karankawa, one of the buildings uptown.
So he does have one.
And that number there, see on the slideshow, that screenshot, and one of the numbers that it gives you is the, I don't know the address, 444 Karankawa, you said? That's great.
I know that a group of us at Indivisible, we got together and visited Blake Farenthold and demanded to be seen by him and to plan a meeting so that we could talk to him face to face. I don't know whether Cloud would do that. I don't know.
I would help Mary Alice if you could help with that. That
I
would be
will.
amazing.
Don't they break on March 15th? Won't they have a break to where they?
We're going to talk about that in just a minute.
Michael Cloud should be in district March 10th through 23rd. No guarantee he'll be in Corpus Christi or Portland, or if he's going to stay in Victoria, if he's going to go on vacation. Anyway, they've got a district work week that week.
We were talking about getting an action together for that as well. I think the energy's here, right? It feels like everyone's really excited about getting involved with this. So that's awesome. It's good to hear that in the room. We also have the Resist Bot tool. Stacy, can you tell us about that some more?
Yes, this one is a work in progress. I have 5 calls here. Just ignore that. Resist Bot. I really like Resist Bot. You can actually text resist to 50409. Resist Bot is a free service that allows you to contact your elected officials by sending a text message. By texting resist to 50409, you can send a letter to your representatives advocating for the protection of democracy, women's rights, essential social programs. This tool has been used to deliver over 30 million letters to officials, making it a powerful way to make your voice heard. For those of you that don't feel comfortable calling, ResistBot is a really simple, easy way to send letters to your lawmakers simultaneously. And it has all kinds of different policies you're interested in.